Hello and welcome to ToryTalks Week 2 of the regular season. Today we have a special guest on the show. Special guest, please introduce yourself.
I am Matthias Austin.
Hi, Matthias.
Hi.
Matthias
Tell
is...
me what sort of things I should say.
No, oh man. Matthias is like one of my best friends in the world, and he's crazy smart. This is the guy who pretty much took me and a bunch of other people single-handedly on a tour of Gettysburg with no notes or material.
Yes, I did do that.
Yeah, so...
And I believe you spent most of your time almost kissing Patrick Harding.
That is a story.
That is a story. It is... Am I one or two, by the way?
You're not either of them.
Okay, I don't know.
You're just
really.
Looking... I'm on defense right now.
You didn't explain the setup of this whole thing very well.
So for those of you who've watched previous Tory Talks, oh no, get him. Tory, it's called Tory Talks because Tory is the friend that likes to watch me play the video game. Matthias, I don't think, Matthias, you've ever seen this before.
Not even once.
Yes.
Yes, Robert Matthias was his name.
Not quite.
I saw it very briefly. I'm not really paying attention. We're off to a good start.
This is because Matthias is really knows a lot about history, especially American history, and is just, I consider him to be one of my smartest, most awesome friends.
I don't disagree with that statement.
We got to get a stop here first. We wanted to talk about Abraham Lincoln. Matthias is a bit of a Lincoln file,
yes.
I am becoming
Vampire
one also.
Hunter and other varieties of Lincoln.
All varieties of Lincoln.
All varieties of Lincoln are
good. Goal line stand right here. He's gonna score.
Yay!
No, not yay. That's
which
the other
team's
team.
Which?
The bad team scored.
Oh, okay.
So we wanted to talk about just kind of the idea that sometimes with great man history, we think differently about a person than the historical evidence actually supports. And I'm not saying we think wrongly necessarily about Lincoln, but I think we definitely don't always get the same, like we don't get all sides of the story.
Right. I agree.
Didn't get the first down there. I don't know, Matthias. Talk a little bit about kind of who you see Lincoln as in the things that you've read, and
to me, Lincoln was. I do rank him as probably one of our best, if not our best, presidents. Mm-hmm. But not because he was some superhero, amazingly virtuous, he was not the Jesus of America.
Yeah.
He was probably one of our best presidents because he... Fumble, get it!
We got it!
I can't tell who got it!
We did!
Who's we?
My team!
Why didn't you have it be the Bears? Because then we'd be playing each other.
No, it's a season.
Anyway.
Lincoln.
And Lincoln. Yes, so my view on him is he did what was necessary to keep our country together. And he was actually kind of devious in the way,
yes.
Not devious in a negative sense,
mm-hmm.
but devious in he was very good at manipulating things to get the result that he wanted.
Yeah, he was a crafty politician.
Yes.
In a positive sense. That's
right.
That's what
he used the craftiness inherent in politics because he wanted to legitimately help people. Yeah.
From my reading, I get the sense that he has just such an overwhelming respect for the law that he will find a way to do something that he values only via the law.
Yeah.
Which I think for him was why he was not okay with the way that some of his colleagues, especially Seward, kind of ignored the fugitive slave law when it suited them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. You do have to acknowledge that it wasn't necessarily always consistent. What with suspension of habeas corpus and stuff like that during the actual Civil War.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in the same... It's not really all that dissimilar to, FDR saying, well, you guys don't want to go to war against Germany, but I know we need to help out England, so I'm going to do this Lend-Lease Act.
The Lend-Lease. Interesting.
He did, you can't expect everything to be perfect in the real world, so he did what he felt was necessary. But
so you think Lincoln did that in terms of preserving the Union?
I think he did, especially with something like the Civil War, which is inherently different. Any civil war is inherently different than a war between nations, because both sides have a common background.
Yeah.
So,
I
mean, there were spies everywhere.
Yeah.
Because they all spoke the same language.
Yeah, even though the Confederate States of America was like a different country, you could argue that functionally their legislature and laws were nearly identical, that they were operating off the same constitution. But... Yes! Interception! Sorry.
I stopped even watching. Anyway, I forgot that that's the entire premise of this whole thing, is as though we are playing... We are playing this.
Well, you're just looking at it. I'm playing.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Okay. Anyway... Lincoln.
Yeah. Well, do you want to kind of go the Turtle Dove route, or are there other things you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think the Turtle Dove route is very interesting. Harry Turtledove is an author of alternate history, and I think it's a 14-book series that he writes about the South winning the Civil War in 1862 at the Battle of Antietam. And Lincoln is, instead of being remembered as a hero, completely disgraced for being the guy who brought this horrible war on and then losing it.
Yep, and he doesn't have the opportunity to give the Gettysburg Address or the Emancipation Proclamation or the 13th Amendment.
Exactly. And in this version, Lincoln, through his reading, through everything that he's viewed of the world, becomes a Marxist, and actually ends up establishing I think it's just the Socialist Party of America.
Which was a real thing. It was actually had a lot of, in real timeline, had a lot of traction before the First World War, especially. Like Eugene Debs got nearly 1 million votes for the presidency twice. So it was a viable third party for about 30 years.
Yeah, and in this, Lincoln, because he solely brought down the entire Republican name, but was still in this version, one of 2 Republican presidents ever, still had clout with whatever was left of the party, and he took the side of the party most similar to him and took it over to the Socialist Party.
Yeah.
And so the 2 parties established in Turtle Dove are the Democrat Party and the Socialist Party, and the Republicans are this weird minority party that nobody pays attention to.
Yeah, they kind of have some representatives at the local and state level, but they're kind of almost the way that the Green Party was in the 90s. They kind of happened, but they were sort of the butt of the joke all the time, and
right.
Yeah.
So anyway, in Turtle Dove, he just establishes Lincoln as, in his old age, which we never really got to see in his 70s and 80s, we see him becoming progressively more and more socialist. And in it, he does a very interesting thing. Like we're talking about, Lincoln has such a great respect for the law. Lincoln, in Turtle Dove's universe, looks at all the other socialist uprisings that happened and saw how it was very, all the chaos and the death, and he said, that doesn't work in America. We have a great system of law. We can do it legally. And so that's sort of the basis for the socialist movement that Lincoln sort of founds in America.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, and Matthias and I have talked about this before, is how, whether or not this is realistic. And I think that based on some of the things that I've read, Matthias, you've read a little bit more than I have, but like Lincoln was interested in the idea of labor and capital, because
very much so.
Yeah, he's been, he grew up on a farm. He was a laborer. He was a self-made man, and
we really need to remember that Lincoln wasn't just, we think Civil War time it was the North and the South. There was also the West, and Lincoln was a Westerner. I mean, Kentucky and Illinois, that was, in heavy quotes, the West. And that was definitely where there was more of this, there weren't really the elites in the West. There weren't really a whole lot of rich people in the West. It was a lot of farmers. It was a lot of day laborers. And so that was the sort of background that he really had for most of his life growing up. Even though he was a lawyer to all the rural communities.
Well, and as he learned law in his early 20s, he worked on riverboats. He worked that was actually the platform of a lot of his local politics was local improvements of waterways and rail systems and these sorts of things. And I think one of the most interesting things that I think really there are two things that I think really bolster the idea, Turtle Dove's idea of Lincoln becoming a socialist.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
See, look at me paying attention.
I think really just the point is to interrupt the other person whenever something good happens. One, Marx and Lincoln had an acquaintance with one another. Karl Marx did. Marx loved Lincoln. He loved the idea of the Union. He was strongly in favor of the Union during the American Civil War. He was actually an American war correspondent, not a war correspondent, but like a foreign correspondent to America. And I think for the some New York paper. But upon both of Lincoln's inaugurations, Marx wrote him and said, congratulations, this is a great day for like the rights of laborers and for equality. And Lincoln actually wrote Marx back and said, it's great to have friends in Europe and like we understand your struggle. That Marx and Lincoln were acquainted, but also that Lincoln talks about the idea of labor and capital. The one that comes to mind is he gave a speech in Wisconsin to a bunch of agricultural laborers and said, our goal is not for you to all get capital at the expense of labor. It's for both of these to coexist well and for everybody to go from being a provider of labor to one that holds capital in order to facilitate other people's labor becoming their capital. Kind of this like circular system of everybody gaining.
Yeah.
Points. I don't know.
Who's what? Are you gonna? Are you?
I think winning? I'm gonna. No!
Oh,
I got.
Don't do it.
I got McTackled.
Do it.
Watch me kick this field goal so good. Uh-oh.
So good. That was the graphics made that seem like you were not necessarily kicking a field goal, but more like driving a golf shot. It was like a mile and a half.
It was. I love the graphics. They're like cutscenes, early cutscenes. Yeah. Anyway, this is a really fascinating idea. There's 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in the game, so I don't know how to.
Yeah. In conclusion, Lincoln may be a communist.
Yeah, and I think
that's the big takeaway here.
Yeah, and I think we have to qualify that because when we think of socialist or communist, because of the Cold War, I think a lot of people think Stalinist or Russian statist, and that is so frankly, far.
Yeah, that's not even close to any. I mean, there really hasn't been a legitimate, I think, ideologically
sound.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's all been, oh no, the government's just gonna help out for a little bit to get everything in order, and also this one dude's in charge of everything now.
Which is not communism.
Yeah,
Marxist communism.
Totalitarianism.
Yeah. So get it. Yeah. I hope he scores.
Yeah.
So
Lincoln maybe would have become a dictator? No.
yeah, your feed got all messed up there.
To give us like an ending note.
So maybe Lincoln would have kick-started the Socialist Party, and maybe not. But hey, that's the end of the game.
Yeah.
We won.
Did you win?
We won.
I wasn't. We won.
Yep. Thanks for watching Tory Talks.
Yep.